Thank you for that introduction. And Catherine, thanks for that talk. Your love affair with Justin Trudeau, it's infectious. So I think we share that, we have that in common. So yeah, thanks for having me here today. My name is Dale Nally. I am the Minister for Service Alberta, Red Tape Reduction. Recently, the Premier gave me AGLC as well. And so I have responsibility for alcohol, gaming, cannabis, and gambling. So I'm now the Minister of Fun. So, but we're not here to talk about AGLC because you're one of the few crowds that love to talk about what is near and dear to my heart, which is red tape reduction. And that's something that absolutely just enables our economy. So today I'm going to give you a high-level overview of how things are going right now with government, and then I'm going to pivot to red tape reduction, and then I think we're going to do some questions after if there's time. So I have to warn everybody in this room, I am very bullish on Alberta. I need you to know that right out of the gate. I'm a proud Albertan, and I feel as though we are heading into the biggest economic recovery that this province has ever seen. You know what? Absolutely. And I mean that. There's some economic headwinds. Canada could be facing a recession, but economists are saying that we are going to avoid that in Alberta most likely. And after that, we're just going to continue to boom in this province. And so it's always been a great time to be in Alberta, but now it's even better. And as job creators, you are positioned so well. A couple of things that you've probably heard on the news, Air Products. I'm very bullish on hydrogen as well. Air Products, the biggest hydrogen producer in the world, chose Alberta to build their first blue hydrogen facility. This is a $1.6 billion facility. It's going to be around for 40 years. It's going to be 2,000 jobs during peak construction. And this is just the tip of the iceberg because this is the first one. There's a bunch of companies around the world that want to come to Alberta and they want to start exporting our hydrogen. Companies like Mitsubishi and Itochu are in the province. They're kicking the tires. They're very interested in exporting our hydrogen. And I want to be clear because I'm bullish on hydrogen, but I want you to know hydrogen is not going to replace oil and gas. Hydrogen is going to be right there alongside oil and gas. And I believe that hydrogen will create generational wealth for this province in the same way that oil and gas does, and it'll do it at the same time as oil and gas as well. It's going to be part of our diversified energy portfolio. In fact, I have the hydrogen car just in front. We brought it over here today. Government bought their first hydrogen vehicle because I have responsibility for fleet management. We have about 3,000 cars, and so we're testing the first hydrogen vehicle to see how well it'll work into our fleet. And I got to tell you, it's way better than an electric car. For starters, you fill it up with hydrogen, you don't have to plug it in. So it comes with all sorts of benefits. You probably heard about the Dow project. This is a $10 billion facility. It's going to be over 7,000 jobs during peak construction. And it is without a doubt the biggest private sector investment that this province has seen in over 15 years. And you know, we had to beat Louisiana to get this project. And it's something that we've been working on since 2019. And the fact that it was Louisiana and Alberta that was on the short list for the project, and we came out on top, that to me tells you what a great place it is to do business in Alberta right now. The one that always amazes me, in 2019, if I had come here and if I told you that we were going to become a destination for manufacturing airplanes, you would have told me that I was crazy. But that's what's happening. De Havilland broke ground a little while ago on their project in southern Alberta. We're going to start manufacturing airplanes right here in Alberta. It's great news. It's going to be significant jobs for Albertans. And that's not all. I was in Texas and I had a tour of the Lockheed Martin facility, which they're building the F-35s. We're getting 85 of them are coming to Canada. About 50 of those, I got an aviation enthusiast right over there. You knew that already. About 50 of those 88 F-35s are going to be right here in Alberta. We had a tour of the assembly line. It was incredible. But I had no idea. Lockheed Martin is already here. They've got a project. They're doing a battery storage project with TC Energy already. So again, a bunch of companies from across industries are looking to Alberta and they're investing. Amazon has, and I don't know how big this one is. If someone knows the number, the Amazon data center, they're looking at, I think it's $1 billion investment. Absolutely significant. And so there's so much great news going on in Alberta. Now, we all know that housing starts are a leading indicator of the economy. And the September housing starts for this year were up 20% over a year ago. And that is absolutely phenomenal, and that tells us that things are going to be on fire if they're not already. I'm waiting for the October housing starts. They're going to be coming out in the next week, so I'm going to be looking for those very closely because I'm anticipating some strong numbers. Land titles, which is one of my responsibilities. You probably heard about that backlog in land titles. We got rid of the backlog, by the way. It's gone. We got it down to 12 days. Yeah. Standard is 10 to 12 days, and as you know, we were over 4 months, and so we've eliminated the backlog. The reason we got into the backlog is 2 years ago, our volumes doubled at land titles, and it's not an automated process, it's largely manual. So we're going to fix that, and we're going to bring in some automation so that we can process a land title a lot quicker in the future. But when the volumes doubled, we did not have the ability to simply scale up, and that's why we had such a backlog in place. So in 2021, volumes doubled over 2019, and today they're 11% higher than when they doubled in 2021. So even though interest rates have been climbing for the past year, Alberta has still been an affordable place to invest, a great place to buy a home, and by the way, our wages are higher than the rest of the country as well, and we have lower taxes. So, there we go. Jobs numbers came out last month. We have seen 13 out of the last 14 months of positive job growth numbers. Last month we saw 89 jobs created in Alberta when the rest of the country continues to struggle. So again, lots of things going on, and I sure hope you saw the fiscal announcement last week. Did you see the fiscal announcement? The fiscal update? We're forecasting a $5.5 billion surplus. I gotta tell you, governing in a province like Alberta with a $5.5 billion surplus is a lot more fun than governing in one that doesn't have a $5.5 billion surplus. So great news. Now, how did we get here? We had a plan in 2019. We campaigned on a platform of fiscal restraint. And when you campaign on fiscal restraint, sometimes you have to bring in some unpopular news, and sometimes you have to do unpopular things. And we did that, despite the bad news that it brought to us, and the left was lighting their hair on fire, and the media was perpetuating it. But we didn't waver, and we stuck to our plan. And we had a plan of fiscal restraint, so that we wanted to just simply bring our spending in with the rest of the country. And then in addition to that, we said, we're going to cut our taxes. We're going to cut our corporate taxes. We're going to have the cheapest taxes in Canada. In fact, we went from 12 to 8% on corporate taxes, and we have lower taxes than 44 U.S. states. We're in line with Louisiana and Texas. And let me tell you, I was just down there, and they're noticing what we're doing here in terms of our low taxes. But we didn't just stop there. We also said we're going to cut red tape. We committed to cutting 33% of the red tape in this province, and I am proud to say that we have cut 32.5% of the red tape in Alberta. So we are a whisker away from getting to 33. And so I keep getting weekly updates from my department, finding out when are we going to hit 33? Is it going to be before or after Christmas? I'm not sure, but it's coming up. And we're going to run a victory lap because this is something to celebrate. We saved job creators $2.6 billion with a 32.5% reduction in red tape. And just to put that in perspective, that $2.6 billion that we saved job creators, that wasn't a government-reported number. That's what industry told us that we would save them, and that what we did save them, it would cut that red tape. We received A- from the CFIB. That was great news to know that because when we came to government, we had one of the worst red tape reduction scores in the country. It was embarrassing for a business-friendly province like Alberta to receive a B- from the CFIB. It was embarrassing. Oh, sorry, no, it was a D. It was a D that we got. Anyway, we now had an A- last year, and we're very proud of that. And everyone is taking notice of the red tape reduction initiatives. I wanted to bring a couple of examples out for you in terms of what we've done. One of them was an amendment. It was the Alberta Energy Regulator. An amendment to Directive 20 enabling the co-minglement of the abandonment of wells. So in other words, if you develop a bundle of wells, you should be able to abandon those wells at the same time rather than having to do them individually. Well, that initiative saved industry $584 million from that one red tape reduction initiative. And so that's $584 million that industry has that they could invest and create more jobs for Albertans. We also had some great success with the Alberta Utility Commission. And I want to tell you about this one, because I'm very proud of this. When I got the electricity file, because I had natural gas first, and then they gave me electricity, and I had responsibility for the Alberta Utility Commission, and I met with industry, and industry was very clear to me. They said that if it takes 3 years to approve a project in Louisiana, then that means it takes 6 years in Alberta. Well, that's unacceptable. So I went to the chair of the Alberta Utility Commission, and I made it very clear. We need to approve projects as fast as Louisiana does. That's just full stop. And he told me that that was very aspirational. So I didn't like that. So he opted to leave, and we brought in a lady by the name of Carolyn Delries, who, I don't know if you have a chance to meet her. She's absolutely phenomenal. I gave her the same directive. I said to Carolyn, I said, I want to be able to approve projects in Alberta as fast as Louisiana. And instead of telling me that it was aspirational, she said, can I take that away? Because that's a big ask. She says, can I take that away and come back? And I said, yes. She came back to me a month after that. She came back and she says, okay, I think I got it. But the only thing is, Louisiana doesn't do Indigenous consultations like we do in Alberta. Can you take the time that we spend with Indigenous consultations and back that out of the approval time? Because if you can do that, I think I can match Louisiana. And I said, yes. And anyway, so Carolyn Delries then proceeded to reduce the red tape at the Alberta Utility Commission. She has reduced 48% of the red tape that the AUC has. And we went from having one of the worst agencies, the Alberta Utility Commission, to about 11 months after Carolyn Delries was hired, I had a large industry group come and complain about the AUC and to complain about Carolyn specifically. And their complaint was that they were moving too quickly. And I got to tell you, that was a hard one for me to be too concerned about, because we weren't used to receiving complaints that regulators were moving too quickly. We have, in fact, they did such a great job. If you have a 10 megawatt generator that you want, because you can go to a gas well and put a 10 megawatt generator on a gas well. If you want to do that in Alberta, you can have that approved in about 5 days right now. That's how long it's taking, because all you require is a checklist. Yeah, it used to take like 6 months or longer, and now it's a checklist, and it's approved in 5 days. And that's if it's 10 megawatts. If it's less than 1 megawatt, then you don't even need to go through the Alberta Utility Commission. They don't need to hear about it. So we are making significant inroads into reducing the red tape. We are now planning for what happens after we hit 33, because like I said, the next couple of weeks we're going to get there, and so we're deciding what does it look like? And so one thing that we don't want to do is break our arm patting ourselves on the back for getting to 33, and meanwhile all the red tape comes back. So we want to make sure that we have a process in place that it doesn't, and it's about creating a culture of red tape reduction. And because even though we're almost at 33, we still have some agencies, we still have some ministries that have some work to do. And I'll give you all these examples of the Alberta Energy Regulator and the great work they've done, but they're not done. They're only at 15%. And so they have to get to 33. And so we will be continuing to work with them to get them to 33. We've got health. This is a great one. We have not focused on health because the last term with COVID and a healthcare crisis and everything else we had going on, we made the decision not to take a culture of red tape reduction to healthcare. But we are now. The Canadian Federation of Independent Business has come forward and said, look, we have a healthcare crisis on our hands. Canadians don't have access to doctors. Well, we can provide that access simply by removing the administrative burden that doctors face on a daily basis. And they estimate that doctors have 20% of their time is spent filling out forms. So just by removing the administrative burden, we could find an extra day of work for doctors. Well, how many patients could they see in the course of doing that? So we're not there yet. That's what's coming. And so I'm working with the health minister, and we are going to be taking this initiative of red tape reduction to healthcare, and we're going to be consulting with doctors, medical professionals, and finding out what red tape can we reduce to help contribute to resolving the healthcare crisis. And so we're very, very excited about that. We're also having a one in, one out. initiative. So basically, if you have, as a minister, if you have an initiative that you're bringing forward and it's going to bring with it a certain regulatory count, then you need to reduce that regulatory count in your ministry. So if you bring in a piece of red tape, then you've got to remove a piece of red tape. And that's our one in, one out. And that is going to be our guarantee that we are not going to allow red tape reduction to creep back into the environment in Alberta. And so, and by the way, we're going to be putting that in legislation as well. And ministers are going to have to report out on an annual basis on what their red tape count is, so that we can see by ministry how they're doing. We are not walking away from a culture of red tape reduction. We're going to continue to embrace it because it's brought us great success, and we're very excited about that. So do we have, I know that we're doing a fireside chat. Do we have time for a couple of questions?
Certainly.
Yeah, are there any questions? I should, yeah, we have a gentleman over there.
Minister, thanks for coming today. I think we're definitely on a roll. There's no doubt about it. One of the things that business owners in major urban centers face is the amount of red tape in municipalities.
Yeah.
That includes taxation. The challenge for taxation is, as business owners, we have no vote. We pay half the taxes, we get no vote. So our leaders within the municipalities are guiding our municipalities down a road of more and more expenditures, more and more
Yeah.
taxes. And it's driving us out to the ring without around the major centers, which creates more infrastructure, creates more cost, creates more transportation issues in terms of some of our workers taking public transit. And so at some point, I'd like to put a bug in your ear and not only your ministry, but the entire caucus, that business owners at some point need to have input into our municipalities election process, whether that be a vote or something that helps us balance the initiatives
Yeah.
that we're taking
Yeah.
to balance off the expenditures.
So you're absolutely correct. And in Alberta, we essentially have two political parties. One political party believes that less government is more, and less is better. And we view government's role as getting out of your way and getting out of the way of job creators. The other party likes regulation. And so I don't think I need to tell you which one is which. Here's the challenge we have in municipal politics is, for some reason, Conservatives don't come out and vote in municipal elections. But you know who does? The left does. The left comes out in mass. They are very well organized. They have their shop stewards, the Alberta Federation of Labour, all of their connections, and they bring out all of their union members and they tell them who to vote for. And everyone knows who the orange candidates are. And for some reason, Conservatives don't come out. So we put a referendum in the last municipal election. We thought that would increase the voter turnout if we had a referendum. But sadly, it didn't work. We don't have political parties participating in municipal elections. But I'm not sure if you noticed, but there is one party that does participate. And they're out door knocking. And they're letting all their supporters know who the left-leaning candidates are. And so you end up with mayors in your major cities that are left-leaning, with left-leaning councils. I think there's maybe one councillor in both Edmonton and Calgary, one on each council that is conservative. So that's problematic. The way that we can get around that is let's allow parties to participate, because we're thinking about, and this is how Conservatives, we're so mild-mannered, we're thinking about allowing parties to participate in municipal elections. They already do, right? They just don't do it officially. Well, we're thinking of enabling it so that they can participate, and that way it'll be more obvious who the Conservatives candidates are, and we're hoping that Conservatives are going to start coming out to municipal elections. Yeah, great question. Thank you.
You're doing a great job. You're something to be. You're a strong influence.
Thank you.
I'm from Canada's medical clinic.
Okay.
And I just interviewed a couple, a husband-wife physician team from Pakistan.
Yeah.
Amazing doctors, and they are now changing bedpans at an old age home, $20 an hour. And I am fighting so hard to try the CPSA, because here we have this crisis level problem, 12 million Canadians, no doctor.
Yeah.
And we have many solution opportunities all over, changing bedpans at old age homes. And I didn't realize you existed so glad that you're a fireball like you are, and I would love to give you some ideas and work with you because the solutions are right in front of us.
Sure.
Just like they are in the other areas that you talk about.
Sure. My David Jackson is my chief of staff. He'll give you my card. Would love to connect with you. So what you just described is something that we are very aware of. It's the professional associations. They do a great job of keeping out new members essentially and putting up roadblocks. And so yeah, we have doctors from jurisdictions that have excellent health care that are cleaning out bedpans, they're delivering skip the dishes. Here we have a healthcare crisis, and that's just disgraceful. Yeah. So you're absolutely right.
Part of an association that represents small and medium-sized companies. Really appreciate the work you're doing. We also do love the large companies. They can do so much good, but sometimes they're willing to accept red tape because they can work around it. How do you implement red tape reduction that protects small and medium-sized businesses who can't handle those other red tapes and regulations that the bigger companies can?
So there's two things that we can do. One is we can deliver on our red tape reduction commitments. Because you're right, you can't compete with a large company with all their resources, but if you don't have that red tape to deal with, then you don't have to compete with them on it. So that's the first thing we can do, is deliver on our red tape reduction commitments. The second thing is we can make sure that there are supports available for you. And we do have supports. There are, and I would encourage you to reach into jobs, economy, and I always forget because we just changed the names. Thank you, Jobs, Economy, and Trade. You can reach into them. There's a bunch of there's a bunch of grants, there's a bunch of associations that work with and help and support, whether it's export, they help small businesses that are looking to export, things like that. So those are the types of things that we can do to also help as well. Yeah, small business is the lifeblood of this province, right? Yeah. Greg, how are you doing?
Pretty good, Dale. Building on this sort of regional business, we're talking about municipal elections. Would it not be possible regionally, right now you know the Edmonton Metro Regional Planning Board is made up of 13 mayors. It started in the Edstalmac era, it's 23 mayors. There is no structured business presence. The long-term objective of that group is the economic health of our region. It's a great initiative. It's not provocative, which is what you're about. I want the bigger picture, it's not about Edmonton, it's about our region. So we have no mandate seat at the table, nothing disparaging about mayors,
Yeah.
but their currency tends to be votes.
Yeah.
And we're really about the economic health of our enterprise certainly is.
Yeah.
There's something we can do through municipal affairs to ensure that credible business groups are included in the long-term planning process and not just 13 lovely, well-intended political mayors.
Well, I gave some feedback to Minister Schultz when she was Minister Schultz when she was the Municipal Affairs Minister, because that economic growth board that you're talking about, they voted no to allowing Sturgeon County to be able to develop their land for business purposes, and so jurisdictions that don't even touch Sturgeon County were voting no to Sturgeon County being able to develop lands around their airport. I mean, I was so discouraged by that decision, Greg. I wrote to the minister and asked her to seriously consider shutting down the economic growth boards and starting fresh with something new. It hasn't happened, but the good news is I believe they've reversed that decision now. So they are capable of admitting they make mistakes. You know what? I like your idea. Get business to sit on the boards with them. I don't think that the municipal mayors would want to give up control. However, I like the idea. I will share that with Minister McIver. He gets it, so I'll share that with Minister McIver. It's a good idea. Yeah.
One other quick question.
Yeah.
Why don't you do the Pierre Poilievre method and tag your funding that you send to the municipalities to performance?
Yeah.
By performance.
Yeah.
Like money talks.
Yeah.
Money makes decisions. To his point about taxes, they're
Yeah.
driving their taxes up here in Edmonton.
Yeah.
Well, then you don't need more money from us. And if you
Yeah.
want money,
Yeah.
then perform.
Yeah.
Drive
Yeah.
costs down for business.
Yeah.
They're going to create more jobs, not more people.
I have to be careful because I'm not the Minister of Municipal Affairs, so I can't speak on his behalf, but I can say I like that idea. I do. I like that idea. I love accountability, and what is more accountable than performance-based metrics? Yeah. agreed. I will share that. Yeah.
One quick, thank you again for the work you do with the AUC. I've been on the upland and the proponent side of that, and they're both equally painful. But one
Okay.
thing I'd like to talk about a bit is that right now, Genesee's where I live right now, so we're trying to just work with Genesee right now as they go from
Yeah.
coal to gas.
Yeah.
One thing that the AUR and the AUC prevents is that Genesee would like to change some of that mine land that they're giving up, instead of turning it back into crappy farmland, change the license of the recovery to turn it into business time, for example, small modular reactor for hydrogen production or something.
Right.
Just a bug in the here, can we take a look with the AUC to see if you can change some of the coal mining licenses to allow other business other than just turning into crappy farmland?
Yeah, I didn't realize that we couldn't.
Well, when I talk to Capital Power, they say they won't change the recovery plan to date from 1977 because our license says it must return to farmland.
So,
It's all been destroyed, so we might as well turn instead of destroying good farmland for other
yeah.
businesses, use 16
Okay.
townships of land and make exactly industry.
Yeah, okay. I like that solution. I don't know. We'll reach into AUC and that. Brendan, could you get a card over? We'll get some more information from you. We'll ask the AUC if it's possible. I like the idea. Didn't realize that we couldn't do it. Yeah. Yeah.
We had a question submitted, some questions I had submitted, so I'm going to ask one of those.
Okay.
This question asks about interprovincial. I'm going to add federal onto that. It must be so frustrating for you to do all this work, reducing red tape in the province, and then interprovincial barriers go through the roof. Federal barriers get imposed upon us. Which ones are targeting that maybe your premier and interprovincial ministers can help with, but that you've got your eyes on going, this is hindering Alberta business from going, but it's not really in your control.
That's a tough one. I mean, when I was the Associate Minister of Natural Gas and Electricity, I had built the strategy for natural gas, and that included one of the pillars was on plastics, and it was about we have a $10 billion petrochemical industry, and it was about turning it into a $30 billion industry. We're well on that way. In fact, in addition to that, we wanted to turn Alberta into the Western North American leader for plastics recycling, because you know that plastic is not the problem, waste is the problem. We just got to figure out how to deal with the waste. And there's companies that have advanced recycling technologies. They're willing to deploy them. But we have a federal government that has decided to wage war on plastic straws, because that's what they've banned, right? There was 6 items they've banned. One of them was straws. One of them was the plastic six-pack ring that they have. I mean, it was absolutely the most ridiculous thing. And so we took them to court. We took them to court, and we won. We won. And so after getting a clear victory from the courts, Stephen Gabot, the Minister of Environmental Magic, decides that he's going to take the term that was offensive to the court, that is offensive to us, is they wanted to classify plastic as toxic. So they're going to change that designation from toxic to dangerous. Right? So this is why our Premier calls them lawless, because they absolutely are. And this is a frustration. There is a $7 to $8 billion opportunity to be a global leader in plastics recycling, and it's worth 8,000-9,000 jobs. This could become a successful industry in Alberta. We've got Dow Chemical investing. We've got everything to make it work, but companies are not going to invest in plastic recycling when you have a federal government that classifies it as toxic or dangerous, because that means you now have a problem getting it across the border. And so they are absolutely they're holding us up, and they have no business holding us up. They've already lost in court once, they're going to lose again. But meanwhile, it's costing Albertans jobs. So.
Yeah, I think far be it from me to suggest for the Premier what to do, but with your enthusiasm, you should become the Premier or the Minister of Economic Development.
Oh, well,
It's really nice to hear somebody talking about the province in a positive way. Well done.
yeah.
I have a
Thank you.
question as a business owner that I suspect a lot of people share the same concern. It's kind of getting harder to find people. Good people you can still find, but people en masse is difficult. I know under Premier Notley, I believe in the middle of one of the worst recessions we've had since 2008, I think the government numbers swelled by 62,000, seems to me.
Yeah.
I know it sounds terrible to say, hey, why don't we trim back? But those people would then naturally migrate to the workforce where we all need them. Does your government have any plan in
Yeah, yeah, and the answer to that is yes, because that's the first thing that we did in 2019. In 2019, we said all that we want to do is rein our spending in with comparable jurisdictions, because we were outliers in all areas. We were outliers in spending on healthcare. We were outliers on spending on the public service. So we did make reductions, and I think if we look across the public service, we reduced the public service by 7%. Yeah. I don't have it on the top of my head. Yeah, I don't. But David can get it for you. Yeah. But I'll tell you this. I have this, and this isn't government policy. This is an idea that I have. For some reason, you hire a government worker, and it's almost like Gil McGowan sends them a membership to the NDP, right? So I thought to myself, we have teachers in Redwater and Legal, and they're conservative. Okay, because they're in Redwater and Legal. They're surrounded by a culture of conservative thinking. They're not going to become socialists just because they're teachers. And so I thought to myself, why don't we start hiring more government workers to be remote workers and share the wealth of public service and let them do these jobs from rural Alberta, right? I mean, we have never allowed rural Albertans to have these government jobs. Why? We know that many workers can work remotely. Why not let them work from Redwater, from Legal, from Lacrete, right? Let everybody in Alberta benefit from the public service. Now, but just to be clear, this is still in its infancy, okay? So this is not policy. I've got a lot of red tape, and I got some colleagues that I have to convince. But this is what I think that we can do. Now that we can, we've got 4 years to focus on doing things right. There was a lot of distractions, and I'm not going to mention what they were, but there was a lot of distractions in the last 4 years. We don't have those. We can start being strategic about how we move forward. Yeah. Okay, thank you. Thank you.